The Blokebusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network, where you can find us as well as other excellent podcasts such as Sarcasm City, Worst Millennials, and Late Night Gamers at podbros.com. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Blokebusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Who's going on? Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
And this is?
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Now, where was I?
Welcome to another episode of the Blokebusters podcast. I'm Paul, and Brian is not here today, unfortunately. He was unable to make it, so it is just myself and a returning guest. You may recognize his voice from a few episodes ago, and it is the wonderful B-Rob. How are you doing, sir?
I am here, and I'm ready to talk about some unfortunate events.
Yes, this is our second series of unfortunate events episode. Obviously, we did series 1 a little while ago, and this one will be delving into series 2. Possibly a slightly different format than the last time we did it, but we'll see how that goes. So first and foremost, let's try and get all of the social media stuff out of the way. If you're following us, the Blokebusters, you can find us at blokebusters.com, or you can go Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Vero. We're all on those at Blokebusters, and you can also find us on podbros.com and just search Blokebusters or any of the other fine shows they've got on there. And where can the good folks find you, B-Rob?
You know what? I'm going to start adopting that. You know, how you do the social media at the beginning of the show, because I'll have these long-winded conversations on my show, and then, you know, I get to the end and everybody probably burnt out, and then I start saying where they can find me and stuff. They probably tuned out like 20 minutes before that. But yeah. You can find me on social media at It's B-Rob. That's ITSBROB. That's on Twitter. And the show also has a Twitter, the show being Random Ramblers with Rob. And the Twitter handle is at 3R Show.
All right, there you go. Short and to the point there. We really should adopt that, but we're probably not going to. we haven't done it in this long. Why start now? So
yeah, I know, right?
All right, so I think where we should start with this one, as I mentioned briefly before we recorded, is obviously we had you on to do Series 1, so when they dropped Series 2 onto Netflix, like, where are you at? Were you, like, super excited for it? Were you like, oh, yes, I remember that. That was cool. Let's see what this is like. Like, where were you at and what were you thinking when?
Now, when season 1 ended, the way it ended, I was just like, I'm ready for season 2. But it took buku time for all that to happen. So, you know, in the meantime, in between time, we had so many movies to come out and other TV events that happened. You know, it kind of drifted to the back of my mind. You know, I wasn't so much worried about it. And, you know, I kind of forgot when that release date was. And then all of a sudden, you know, Netflix liked to send me emails and updates and stuff, especially when my bill is due.
Yes.
So I got the email notification saying series 2 of the series of unfortunate events is out now. And I was like, holy shit. I text my wife immediately while I was at work, and I was like, hey, it's back on. And in normal Miss B-Rob fashion, she already knows everything before I tell her. So I was like, you know, a series of unfortunate events season 2 is out on Netflix right now. She's like, I know that already. And I was like, of course you did. So we waited until, I forget what day of the week it was, but I know we waited till a Wednesday at least, because that's when Mrs. B-Rob is off. Right. And I got home and we jumped straight into it.
And yes, I believe you said you basically just binged this in a couple of days, if not one day.
Yes, so, if I didn't have to get up and go to work the next day, we probably would have finished it the whole time in one day, in one sitting.
Well, good for you. I did not have that luxury. I don't know if I mentioned it in the previous podcast, but my wife is not a big fan of the show, so it was, for me, I knew it was coming because I hadn't necessarily been on the lookout, but I do follow the series of unfortunate events Twitter account, and so I was seeing the updates for, it's coming out in 10 days, it's coming out in 9 days, and they were releasing all these little tiny videos, so that was helping to get me back into the swing of it and really ready to get going and watching it. And then it came out, and it was the sort of thing where it's not ideal, but I was watching it in maybe one episode at a time, if not slightly less. So I was able to kind of take my time and savor it a little bit more than maybe the previous season. Of course, there's also 2 episodes more in this one than there were in the last one. But yeah, I was very much looking forward to this, and I'm glad that I watched it, and I'm also very glad that we get to talk about it now.
Yeah, and like what you were saying, you were monitoring the Twitter account. I mean, this, at its core is what social media is about. If you have anything that you do, I mean, you have this platform like Twitter and Facebook and all these other different places to peddle your shit. Because, I mean, they do this masterfully, man. They always put like little pictures and everything. They kind of remind you of what happened the last season and everything, give you some flashbacks. They keep you, this particular account keeps you thoroughly entertained until, they start putting out shows.
Yeah, very much so. And I wish I could get a job on the Netflix marketing team. Not that I have any real experience there, but I feel like that would just be so much fun to do. Just because of everything that they're willing to do. It's kind of like I also want to work for the Wendy's Twitter team.
Yes. Did you download the mixtape?
I did not. I haven't had the chance yet. But
I did. I downloaded it. It's like, I think it's 5 songs or whatever, and they're pretty good.
All right. I will make a note to do that tomorrow then, I think. All right. So, yes, the second season. We're not going to go through every episode, the entire plot, but just a brief overview. The first season ended with the 3 orphans, the Baudelaires, sitting on a bench at their new school that they're going to be staying at. And the second season starts with the Baudelaire orphans sitting on a bench at their new school, exactly where they were at the end of the first season, and exactly when they were at the end of the first season. So, very nicely done. And this season does cover the next 5 books in the series, which are the Austere Academy, the Ersatz Elevator, the Vile Village, the Hostile Hospital, and the Carnivorous Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think this season, right off the bat, started with the reason that I love this show so much, which is they obviously recorded the first season, they waited until it came out, they filmed the second season, so the person playing Sunny, Presley Smith, is now a lot older.
Yeah.
But she's actually the same age, character-wise, and so they
reference it, yeah.
They reference it perfectly by saying, obviously the standard joke of, I feel like, kind of like in The Simpsons, where it's, I feel like we've been wearing the same clothes forever. And it's I feel like we've been sitting on this bench for months waiting for the guy. And then I think one of them just turns and just says, like, Sonny even looks older. And then Sonny babbles and it just comes up saying, growth spurt, ? And then that's it. That's the only reference to it whatsoever. And
yeah, they're just like, she's not even a toddler anymore.
Yeah, it's just so well done, and I'm actually now really looking forward to seeing what they do in the third season. They must have a line where it's like, seriously, Sonny, what's going on? Like,
now, what you were saying in the beginning or whatever, you said this season covers 3 of the books?
It covers
series?
5 of them.
Oh, 5. Golly. Yeah. Are there any more after these 5 that they're covering?
There are.
Holy shit.
There's 4 more books in the series. And the next season, they've announced it already, is going to be 7 episodes. So the next 3 books, which are The Slippery Slope, The Grim Grotto, and The Penultimate Peril, will be 2 episodes each. And then The End, which is the last book in the series, will just be 1 long episode.
Wow. So the books are done pretty much, and they're just catching up to the books, or giving the books time to breathe before they start filming again.
Yeah, I think the series has been out for quite a while, especially since when they made the film, A Series of Unfortunate Events, I believe all of the books were out at that time, possibly. But yeah, this series, I think, has been doing it perfectly, where they've given each book 2 episodes, effectively 2 hours, to cover pretty much all the material that's in the books and give us what I can only imagine is one of the most accurate adaptations of a book to a TV series that has ever really happened.
Yeah, because we even talked about it on season 1. I mean, I have never read the books. I know they exist, but just watching season 1 compared to the film that they released before is just like they hit the beats in the movie. But when they did this show, they really fleshed it out and they tried to cover just as much of content that they possibly could.
Yes, and I will bring up the tweet. We got one tweet from Full Start Podcast, at Full Start Pod, if you want to go and find them, talking about their view on season 2. And so I'll bring that up now, because they kind of mention the guy that wrote the book series, because they said, I really enjoyed season 2 and the notably darker turn once Esme showed up. Neil Patrick Harris is actually scary at points this season 2. Sunny has also improved considerably. Now she's not just a CGI head on a doll's body. Also like the mystery and Jacques being woven in better, and we'll definitely get to him in a minute. And feels like Handler took the book criticisms on board and is writing things and tying them together in a much neater way in the adaptation. So, based on what they were saying, it seems like this is almost better than the books, because they obviously had a series of writers to help out, and then he was able to see what the response to the book was and make some changes for the show.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you can actually tell if they took the criticism into consideration or whatever. That's why it took so long to do season 2, rather than just how the crux of some things is they just film consecutively and try to knock it all out in one swoop or whatever. But they did season 1, they let it breathe. It seems like they just took their time to analyze what they had, gauge fan response, try to tweak it and give you more of what you asked for. And make a better product. And I mean, I'm glad. I'm glad. I mean, as much as I don't want to wait for season 3, I'm glad that I'm waiting for season 3.
Yes, it's going to be a long wait, and especially given the end of this season, which we can talk about in a little while. But yes, it's very good that Netflix isn't rushing this, as a lot of networks or film companies say would probably do, and I think it's because they have the ability to not rush it. They don't desperately need to fire out the next thing, because they've got so much stuff in between anyway. So yes, this series, I'm trying to think of where the best place to start would be, and I'm thinking a good place to start would be to talk about the new people in this series. Who was your favourite new character, or at least character that then got a much bigger role, shall we say? Because there are some sort of background characters in the first series that did a lot more in this one.
Well, there was the introduction to Lemony Snicket's brother.
Oh yes, good old Jacques Snicket, and it's played by just the immensely charming and always funny Nathan Fillion. So,
it's the guy from Firefly, right?
Yes, that would be Malcolm Reynolds or Rick Castle, if anyone watched Castle.
And Serenity.
Well, yes, of course, the fantastic film follow-up to Firefly. Yes, I think I'm probably going to echo you there that Jacques is my favourite new character from the series. However, as they did mention in the tweet, I think Esme Squalor was a brilliant addition, and obviously she would be in the books, but played wonderfully by Lucy Punch. Just becoming this person who's even more off the rails than Count Olaf.
Yeah,
which you didn't think was possible.
Yeah, it's just like there's certain scenes in the movie to where she just kind of go off, and Count Olaf is just in the background, like looking out the side of his face, like, what the hell is going on over here?
Yes.
It kind of established her a little more as the leader of the group.
Yes, and if only because Olaf is slightly afraid of her.
Yeah. Now, I tell you what was kind of trippy, though. As they said, the people who sent the tweet, the False Start podcast or whatever,
yeah,
it felt dark, and it felt dark because of her. Let's go a little bit forward to when they was in the hospital that had all the records and everything, and she was following them through the filing room and everything. That was freaking scary.
That was, yes. That was a woman who did not care if any of the children lived or died. She just wanted that sugar bowl.
Yeah, and those heels were fierce.
Yeah, and it was also one of those things that I think the show did brilliantly, which is if either character had stopped to think about it for a second, there were a couple of fairly easy escape routes that they could have covered, or Violet could have very easily just taken a quick left here and got out. But you're not thinking that when you're watching it. You are just watching this cat and mouse game that's happening, and it's marvelously done.
And also another add-on to this, when we watch season 1, it's just the dialogue between all the different characters, especially the Baudelaire children or whatever, when they kind of get an idea in their head, the pace rapids whenever they're talking back and forth to each other. And I felt like they did that even faster in this one. And I believe that's, akin to the chemistry they probably formed over season 1, or maybe even, keeping track up with each other between seasons and just practicing or whatever, because they got that down to a T.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I would also say that when Olaf and Esme would start talking about their plan, they started doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. Their conversations got a little quicker until they were interrupted by something, and then it was just back to the standard Olaf, just showy way of talking.
What I'll give you one little gripe about this season, though.
Okay.
Count Olaf's, his disguises this season were less fantastic than the ones in season 1. Because I feel like in season 1, he totally transformed into a different character, to where in this season, granted, everybody kind of know the telltale signs of Count Olaf now. Usually when the kids accuse him, they was like, all right, look for the ankle tattoo or whatever, something like that. But season 2 is just like, yeah, we'll just put a hat on you and some glasses, and we'll change your voice up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a possible in-universe reason for that would be that either he has much less to work with because he is now on the run, but also I think he realizes that he doesn't need to put any real effort into it because no one seems to recognize him ever.
Yeah, and they think he's dead too.
Yes, especially towards the end of the season. Yeah, everyone seemed to believe he's dead, even though I feel like one or two people still don't stop looking for him. I don't know if I'm just mixing it up in my head a little bit, but it feels like even though he knows everyone thinks he's dead, he still seems to think that people are following him. Yeah, which is technically true.
Yeah, it is.
So. Yes.
And another thing about the costumes or whatever, it was kind of further explained when we dive into the volunteer firefighters or fire department or whatever, because the costumes that he did have was part of a set.
Yes, it was. It was part of the official disguise kit.
Yeah.
And I already knew, just based on a little bit of research and just kind of general absorbing of knowledge around the series, but I already knew what VFD stood for, so it actually was kind of fun to watch. And it's a weird thing to say, it's fun to watch the Baudelaires get so frustrated by not finding out what VFD stands for. And there's so many times throughout the series where it seemed like they're about to find out, and then they just don't.
Yeah, and then they also unraveled the mystery of the ankle tattoo. Everybody thought it was an eye the whole time, but it really wasn't. It was the initials VFD.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I think the film with Jim Carrey kind of messed up, because the magnifying glass that he uses to start the fire is in the shape of kind of that VFD logo, but it is an eye. So I think that's kind of showing that they didn't fully get it. And they definitely get it in this one.
Yeah.
So really cool design of the whole thing, and I think it really shows that they knew from day one what everything was going to be. I mean, obviously, if you're following the books, you know how it's going to end because they already had all the books. But
yeah, and then that's another thing I wonder about too. Is just like, I know this is a big, production or whatever, so you have multiple people with their hands and everything. I wonder if the director actually gets down and reads all these books, or does he have his staff go through everything and give him like the Cliff's notes and everything.
I don't know. I get the feeling that anyone that became involved in this production and all of it, I feel like they would have read all the books based on like seeing the books and kind of flipping through some of them. They're not the longest of books, so it wouldn't take too long if you decided, an hour a day I'm going to sit down and read. It's not going to take you too long to get through all of them. It just might be, a month or two of your time. So,
how do you feel about reading?
How do I feel about reading? I love reading.
Okay, I can kind of, you have like the voice of a reader.
Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds like you can narrate me a good book or whatever. It's just like I can put on the Audible app or something and pick a book and have you narrate it or whatever.
Oh, well, thank you. I will take that as a compliment then, and maybe I've now found my new calling. I don't know.
Yeah, you should try it out. I'm gonna give you a couple of Dr. Seuss books to practice with. You just record the audio. You just send me the files, and I'll let my kids listen to it, and then I give you some feedback on it.
All right, okay. I will genuinely do that if you want to.
Oh shit! Well, I'm gonna go find some books now.
I mean, hey, how else am I going to get better?
Exactly. See there? That's what we do.
Yes. Well, podcast over. We found the real reason for it.
All right, thank you. You can find me at... all right, let's jump back into these characters, though. Tell me if I missed this, or I just misread this. I mean, the henchmen, the Count Olaf's crew and... cast. I feel like they got a little more depth this time around or whatever. I mean, they had a lot of zingy one-liners and everything on the first season or whatever, but I feel like, there were more of the characters in this time around. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. They seem to be willing to give these people more to play with, and again, not having read these books that this series is based on, I don't know if that is in the books, but I get the feeling that it probably isn't, and they were like, okay, now that you know the characters a bit more, maybe they gave them the chance to do a little ad-libbing or to just see how some of these things would work, especially the hook-handed man. I think he really came into his own in this series.
Exactly. Because, I mean, I always felt like, even before Esme showed up, and, kind of, while she was there, that he was like second in command.
Yes, no, very much, especially when he was talking to Sonny out in the ersatz elevator. I thought that was a great little scene where he's just like, oh, shouldn't you be... Oh, okay, yes, you're going down into the elevator shaft. Okay.
It's just like, he's a henchman, he knows he has to do some henching or whatever, but, he also is an independent thinker. He's just like, he kind of questions the logic sometimes.
Yeah, and especially, I like the fact that he can understand Sonny. I think in the film, kind of the big bald guy is the one that can understand her, but it only comes up once. Whereas in this, it seems like Sonny and the hook-handed man have a couple of moments where they are talking to each other.
Yeah, because they had kind of like a thing in the first season or whatever when they was playing cards, right?
Yes, definitely. And it felt like in the first season that was just kind of a nice little punchline to to that part of the episode. But yeah, it seems like they were actually kind of forming a bit of a bond between those characters, so that they could have a little bit more payoff in this series.
I mean, now that we know that, we kind of deduce that on our own or whatever. You think, there might be some dissension in season 3, involving him? Because another thing that I kind of peeped out. I mean, you can shoot me down, you can prove me wrong or whatever. The taller guy, not the Frankenstein looking motherfucker, but the gender guy,
the person of indeterminate gender.
Yeah, that guy. Did it seem like him and Hook Hands had like a little close relationship there? Because I can point to a scene to where, it kind of made me think on that. It's just like after the hospital started burning down or whatever, and everybody was in the car ready to go, and Hook Hand guy was like, I'm waiting on someone. He said, yeah, if he's not here in a minute, we're going to leave. And he was just like so, impatiently waiting on the gender neutral guy to show up.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like, at the very least, it kind of shows that the hench people themselves really like each other.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of helps to prove as to why they're still with Olaf. Like, they clearly are sort of in awe of Olaf a little bit, and they all really like each other. So I think they're all keeping themselves from leaving. Because they're not all going to leave, and because of that, none of them are going to leave.
Yeah, see, and that goes back to what I was just saying. He has that, he has those leadership qualities or whatever, and to where, anytime Olaf was quick to be like, screw this guy or whatever, he was the one to be like, we gotta wait, we gotta do this, we gotta make sure that they're all right.
Yeah, and or even trying to help out, like when they were at the school and Olaf was the coach, and he was like, yes, I've got all of this new stuff we're doing, and then the Hook Hand man just kind of like taps him on the shoulder and nods in the direction of the Baudelaire, just like, what are we going to do about them? Like, they're still here, boss. Let's figure this out. Yeah, it's interesting to see, and it's really fun. It's something that I feel like regular TV, when they have a series going on, there isn't this much development this quickly. And it's a bit of a shame. This type of show is feeling very much to me like the English style of making a TV show, which is quality, not quantity.
Exactly.
And it's something that I feel really helps the show and is just kind of a breath of fresh air, really, when it comes to that type of thing. And one thing I will mention actually about this series is something that Brian was talking with me about, and he would hate it if I didn't bring it up, is that we mentioned the show kind of got darker just in terms of themes that they covered. But did you also notice that it genuinely seemed to be also getting actually darker as the series went on?
Yeah, I did.
And I feel like based on watching it, that was definitely a conscious decision, and it makes me wonder what's going to happen towards the end. Like, is the last episode going to get progressively lighter or something as things start paying off and maybe things go well for them? But yeah, I don't know. It was very interesting, and it did lead to a couple of moments, especially towards the end of the series, where it was a little bit difficult to see some of what was going on. But I do think that it was a very good visual representation of the series itself getting darker, and also kind of the light is just slowly disappearing from the Baudelaire's lives. Like, nothing is going right for these kids, which Lemony Snicket keeps telling us, and we keep ignoring him and watching anyway. I once again, just the writing in the show and Lemony Snicket's interjections and English lessons basically throughout the series, and the difference between literally and figuratively, and then how often that comes up in the episode as they were going through it. It's just astounding. It's almost a masterclass to watch.
Yeah.
It's like how to set up. It's the Chekhov smoking gun thing, where like they set something up and it's like every single thing they say is going to be paid off. There's nothing just hanging there.
And then sometimes they even tell you straight out. It's like, remember this later.
Yeah.
And then there you go. And then sometimes even before the thing they told you to remember later happens, he'll interject. Remember this? And it's like, when this goes away, I'm going to be genuinely sad. You know, because, I mean, it's a good series all the way through. From so far what we've seen. Yeah. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back to episode 1, season 1, and start all the way over again.
I think it's going to be interesting to do that, and I think I'm going to want to do that because I feel like when we reach the end and we learn the true motivation behind some of these people and we learn what that means, I think it'll give a good new perspective on the people we were watching. Like, I feel like Olaf, there's got to be something else.
Yeah, something that made him go this way. You know, they slowly are uncovering it. We're getting some glimpses into it or whatever. I mean, more than anything, we fleshing out the backstory of Lemony Snicket's himself.
Yeah, and I love that he is still on the run. Like, it's it was a kind of a fun thing to see in the first series where he started out in the hotel room and then you just see him packing. And then he goes out the window during one of his
monologues or whatever, yeah.
And now we realize, that wasn't just a one-off. He is genuinely on the run from somebody. And we don't even know really who. I think it's just the police, but we don't know why. So, yeah, I think the show does very well at giving you something, but not giving you everything.
And damn it, we're just this damn close to figuring out who the fuck Beatrice is.
Yes. I have my own theories on that, but I don't know if I'm right, and I'll say it now.
Well, how about no? Because see, you dig and you research or whatever, and I just leave everything out in the wind. I just like to be genuinely surprised. Whenever we end this call, you can pause your audio and you can keep going, but I don't want none of it.
Okay, that's fine. It's just I'll say now that I have a theory as to who Beatrice is. I genuinely 100% do not know who Beatrice is, but I have an idea as to who it might be.
God damn it, I'm still intrigued though. So go ahead, just lay it on me. Fuck it.
All right. I'm moderately confident that Beatrice is either the Baudelaire's mother or the Baudelaire's aunt. I think that she is directly related to them in some way, and I think that either she died through VFD means or from Olaf. So, like, I'm very interested to see where this goes, and I could be completely wrong, and it might just be I don't know, it might just be that it was someone that he saw from afar who died in a car crash, and he's just been obsessing over her, and it actually has no bearing whatsoever on the plot. I highly doubt that's the case, but but you never know.
I mean, because season 1 was a whole misdirection and everything. We thought that the two parents that they showed, the parents of the other set of orphans, were the Baudelaire's mother and father. And they completely swerved the shit out of us or whatever. And then, like, there was a little thing that I kind of remember offhand. It was like a throwaway line or whatever. Because they showed the old party that they was having, the masquerade ball. And then they had the lady in the dragonfly wings. And then they show Count Olaf, you know, presumably pushing her over the edge of the building. You know, and Lemony Snicket's was trying to get to her and everything. You know, I feel like that was Beatrice. Also,
I think it was,
Yeah. Also, later on in one of the episodes, I think Count Olaf referenced something to where I didn't think those dragonfly wings actually worked.
Yeah. So we know she got out of it.
Yeah, and then, you know, that can also lead us to believe that Lemony Snicket's doesn't know that she's not dead. So, you know, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I find it interesting because the main reason that I'm moderately confident that she is the Baudelaire's mother and I'm trying to recall, and I'm not coming up with anything, if they have mentioned the names of the Baudelaire's parents yet.
Yeah.
I don't think they have, but the reason that I think that they're, at the very least, they're hinting heavily towards it, is that we now know, based on the end of the series, that one of the Baudelaire's parents is still alive.
Still alive, yeah.
And it's hinted that it's the woman that we see right at the end, but also Lemony Snicket's dialogue to camera, basically talking about the fact that he's on the trail of the Baudelaires, or he had been on the trail of the Baudelaires, and that someone else is on the trail of the Baudelaires that he didn't know about at the time, and that that all he knows is that it's someone that he would, I can't remember exactly how he words it, but it's someone that he would dearly love to see again, but knows that he can't. And so I think that woman is Beatrice. And so that's why I've made that connection there. But again, they've done so many things where they've thrown, literally at times, a red herring on screen.
Yeah.
So,
Both literally and figuratively.
Yes, exactly.
Now with the fire to the house or whatever, I mean, was that like fact that Olaf started the fire?
Yes, I believe it is. It is fact because he's mentioned that he set it on fire. I don't remember which episode it was, but he talking about it. I think he has mentioned that he said it.
Yeah, and then like the speculation of the whole thing or whatever. Why Lemony Snicket is on the run? Why is he paying so close attention to the Baudelaires? We talked about Beatrice possibly being their mother. Could Lemony Snicket possibly be their father?
That
I don't know because I don't know anything about the books. I mean, I don't know. I'm just reaching at straws and anything because I don't know anything. Because maybe he's on the run because Olaf maybe set him up for the fires.
Possibly. That could be a good one. I think that's quite likely. At the very least, that Olaf is the reason why he's on the run. Because
we clearly see at the end of season 1 that, or even in the flashbacks for season 2, that they were close. Because in the season 1, they showed the bookcase of the at the school is him and Lemony Snicket arm in arm.
Yeah.
Him and Olaf, and then in the flashbacks, they have some kind of history there through the masquerade ball and everything. So, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, and it seems like, and I think they do mention it, that Olaf was a member of the VFD at some point, and then splintered off with the people that decided that setting fires was more fun than snuffing them out. So and it's interesting as well because obviously, when they're talking about fires in that respect, they are referring to not literal fires, whereas all of the fires that we've seen in the show have been literal fires. That it is literally that Count Olaf is an arsonist. That's
it's just like so many fucking layers.
Yeah.
It's like fires as in, conspiracies, plots, and all kind of crap like that, and then there's actual fires.
Yep.
It's weird. And then I was just like, volunteer fire department. I was just like, that's a fucking weird name for a secret organization.
Yeah. I mean, it's something really cool that I think is that I believe we are going to get a full answer to the question by the end, and I'm fine waiting to find out what everything behind VFD.
Exactly. I'm on the same page with you, man. It's just like I'm all for waiting if you're taking the time to make the thing that I want to see the most better. I mean, it's the same thing with video games. People get pissed off. Oh, man, they pushed it back another month, another 2 months, or whatever. That's because they don't want to give you old glitchy-ass product. They want you to have good quality shit when it comes out.
Yeah, and that is something that has been happening a lot now in that, not to try and tangent, but obviously reality, in the video game industry. The problem is they have a very narrow window to get the games out, mostly because the distributors want to get the games out, want to get the money. And so rather than pushing that back, it's now just becoming, well, we'll release a game and then we'll just patch it.
Yeah, no shit. I hate that.
Yeah.
Now, and then, because look at Grand Theft Auto 5. This game been out for years. They only released it once.
Yeah.
They keep adding to it and making, changes to it over time. And it's like the most profitable game ever in freaking video game history.
Yep.
Because it's that they took the time to make this game.
Yes.
This and then the new game that's coming out in October, I think, or November, Red Dead Redemption 2. They took years and years to make that game, and it's going to be excellent because they took the time and the effort to fix everything,
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto, as soon as you pick the game up, you it's just like you can tell they took their time with it stuff. Because, there's just people roaming around the world with, dialogue, just in case you happen to roam around that area, you can overhear their conversation. There's nothing of consequence, but it's just time that they took to put somebody in a recording booth and had them say X amount of scripted dialogue just for the chance that you drive by them and hear them talking about something or run them over with a car. And, just, how Grand Theft Auto is.
Yeah, you only get half the audio because you're not actually caring about them. Yeah, it's it really is interesting that, and again, I think it's down to the quality over quantity thing, and that is bringing it back to this. That's why I think this series has been doing so well, and why a lot of Netflix shows have been doing so well is that they'll get the pitch or whatever, and they'll take it on, and then they don't have to announce, oh, we're working on this and we're going to release it in 6 months. Like they're not doing that. They're just taking it on. They're making it, and maybe it'll be in Business Insider or something, so the news will get out that they're making it. But there won't necessarily be a definitive release date until they're close to ready. They just dump it
in a damn queue.
Yeah,
because that was like on Hulu. They got this show called The Path or whatever.
Oh, yes.
You watch?
I haven't seen it, but that's the one that has Jesse Pinkman in it, doesn't it?
Yes, he is. I think he's the executive producer on that show.
All right.
And it's good. It's in its 3rd season right now, and I just watched the end of it. I just finished it off, and it's good. It's good storytelling or whatever it is, because they're on a platform to where you don't have to rush to meet time hacks. I don't think it's just like, hey, we bought this idea, here's the money to do it, get the shit done, and then we'll just drop the whole season on our platform, and it'll be there forever, or however long we get to keep it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we talk about what you was talking about, quality over quantity. Look at the past 10 years of Marvel to pay it off with Infinity War.
Yes, and
then look at the reverse side of it. Look at
DC,
Justice League.
Yeah, or don't look at DC. Really.
Yeah, to possibly put out Aquaman, the Batman, Cyborg, and maybe the Flash.
Yeah,
I've heard Ben Affleck is done with that shit.
I believe so. I believe he basically decided that, nah, I'm good. And it kind of a shame, because I did think he did an alright job as Batman. I haven't seen Justice League, so I can't speak to that, but when he was Batman in Batman v Superman, he was okay. The film itself wasn't that great, but he was okay.
Yeah, I have Justice League. I'm looking at it right now here on my movie shelf, and it wasn't a bad movie. It could have been better. They could have took the time and cultivated a better story and everything, but that's a whole different thing, because Marvel, they took the time to cast the right people, took time to build those people's stories, even if they didn't get a full-length movie. Characters were prominently featured in other characters' movies.
Right.
DC, that whole camp over there, just like, throw money at Ben Affleck, throw money at this person, put them all in one movie, and let's get this shit out there. And then we'll worry about the other shit on the back end.
Yeah.
Because Ben Affleck went from directing and starring in the next Batman movie to stepping down as director just so he can focus on being Batman. From, what we just talking about now, is speculated that he's just done with it, period, now. So, I mean, that goes to show you how they're doing business over there.
Yeah, it's a real shame. I mean,
I enjoyed him as Batman. I'd rather him be Batman for however long they planned it out rather than to have them switch out with a fresh face in the same storyline that they plan on doing. I don't like that.
Yeah, I'll say this and then we'll probably get back to it. But yeah, I feel like when it comes to DC, maybe they should take a break of like 4 or 5 years. Just don't bother making any more. Think about it and then come back. Start again completely fresh with the exception of Wonder Woman, because Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman now. There's no getting over that. But just come completely fresh to it and just go, you know what? We did it wrong. Let's try this better. Yes, unfortunately that's not going to happen, but I feel like they really should.
Yeah. Dark Knight, The Dark Knight and Wonder Woman, best DC movies they have ever produced.
Yes, definitely.
And to put an end on it or whatever is just like, I don't even know anymore. I forgot where I was going just in that instance. Fuck it, let's get back to Limited Schnickets.
Yes, definitely need to do that. What was your favorite 2 episodes then? What was your favorite book that they covered in this series?
I like what they did with the what was that, the carnival or whatever?
Oh, the Carnivorous Carnival.
Yeah, I like what they did with that because you just see pretty much what is the end result of the librarian just completely transforming into a freaking VFD agent.
Yeah, very well done. And it was one of those things that she was just a bog standard librarian at the beginning of the series, and then just through meeting Jacques and growing as a person, she turns into a formidable agent that meets an unfortunate end in the end of the series.
Yeah, I mean, there was a series of unfortunate events that led to her demise.
Yes, very much so. And again, just so many great bits, so many little one-lines in this series where they would either mention the series or episode, this episode in your lives is not yet over, or something like that. And all of these little throwaway things that were just so well done. But yeah, I think my favorite of this season was probably the Ersatz elevator, I think.
Yeah, when we first was introduced to the girl and everything.
Yeah, because I think that was one of my favorite just kind of turns, as it were, when you realize that Esme isn't what you thought she was. And I mean, she is, apparently she genuinely was completely stuck in all the fads and had to have whatever was in. That was actually her, but everything else, the only reason the Baudelaires are there is because she's helping Olaf.
And they always had, an emotional anchor in each series of the stories that they told in this season. Because with the school where they started off in that saga there, those 2 episodes, it was the librarian. She was the one that, showed, she genuinely cared for the orphans and everything. And, you kind of sympathized with her.
Yeah.
When they moved on to, the elevator portion of it over those 2 episodes, it was her husband, Esme's husband, you sympathized with him and whatever. He was like that emotional anchor for that episode. Then we move on to the hospital. It was David Alan Greer's character, the file guy, or whatever, which he did a good role. He did a good piece in that. I like that a lot.
Oh yeah.
And, he was the emotional anchor in that episode. And then when you go to freaking the carnival.
They went to the Vile Village before they went to the hospital. That one was Hector.
That was Hector. Yeah, the one that built the ship.
Yeah, that built the self-sustaining hot air mobile home when he wasn't fainting, because he did a lot of fainting.
Yeah, and that's where we also lost the other set of orphans. Not tragically, but they went away with Hector.
Yes, they managed to get away, and of course, traditional series of unfortunate events style. They're attempting to give the Baudelaires everything they need to figure out what's going on, and then the book gets shot with a harpoon gun. So they,
out of all the things it could have hit in the air, it hit the book.
Yes. Hit the book and then managed to go through a crow as well. So, and
also a big piece to each and every one of those episodes, a good tying off character there throughout the whole thing was the one guy that always would show up in the freaking disguises or whatever. He was the lunch guy lady.
Oh,
and then,
Larry.
He was the waiter at the restaurant.
Yeah, I believe his character's name is Larry, but it's like Larry the waiter. I believe it's Larry your waiter was the name. And he pretty much, I think he always is a waiter, no matter where he turns up. He's always working as a waiter somewhere.
Yeah, he's serving some kind of food because he was the lunch lady.
Yeah, he was the lunch lady. He was the waiter at Cafe Salmonella.
Season 1, he was at the restaurant.
Yes, he was. Yeah, it's really cool. Just all of these characters that you're following all the way through, and you may not see them for an episode or two, but every time they turn up, like, you remember them perfectly. They are the fully fleshed out characters. I will say the one character that started to grate on me just a little tiny bit, and I'll say this and then we probably should start wrapping up, but is the wife of Mr. Poe.
I was thinking it as you was saying it. I was going to bring her up and him up.
It was especially during the Ersatz Elevator's second episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of the rule of 3 in comedy, but I feel like maybe they went a bit too far, where she just kept saying, wait until the readers of the Daily Pontilio hear about this. And,
yes.
And they did end it on a fun one, which I believe was, wait until the readers of the Daily Pontilio hear about whatever just happened. Because even she doesn't know what just happened. But yeah, and I get it. She is a horrible person who is only interested in herself. But that does grate a little bit. So I think, and if that's the worst part of the series, that someone that turns up a few times an episode is in it, like, I'm happy with that. Like,
yeah. Now I'll tell you what, when this is all said and done, with the 3rd season, they tie this thing off in a bow. I hope we get down to the bottom of the real mystery of this whole series of unfortunate events.
Mm-hmm.
Why the fuck the banker cough so goddamn much? What the hell is wrong with him? Did he have cancer? What's going on with this dude?
I really hope that what happens is in the end, towards the end of the episode, he coughs and like a little chicken bone just comes out, and like that's all it is. He's just had something at the back of his throat the whole time, and it's just he's not been able to lodge it. But
because it's been getting progressively worse since season 1.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they, I think at least one character kind of like mentions it to him, like, have you seen anyone for that cough? And I think he just goes, what cough?
Yeah.
And again, beautifully done, that this guy who's in charge of all of this money and the Baudelaires is just an idiot.
Yeah. And then I think it was a couple of times reference on there that he asked for somebody for a lozenge twice.
Yeah. I have enjoyed seeing him just being like, that clueless. And yeah, I think it's almost always him that is the one telling the Baudelaires that this word means this, which of course leads to, we know what this means.
And him and the boy Baudelaire,
Klaus.
Klaus. Those two handle their lines so damn well.
Yes,
like whenever we talk about how they get into that dialogue spat to where they just rapid fire back and forth, those two handle themselves very well. It is just like whenever Klaus does it, it's like he is on the verge of running out of breath when he's talking.
Yeah.
He's like, then we got to do this and we got to do this, we got to do this.
Yeah,
but both of those two characters do that masterfully.
Oh yeah, definitely, and it is also fun to see. Like Klaus has, and it kind of came to a head towards the end of this series. But Klaus has every single episode gotten more and more annoyed that everything they've been looking for just keeps vanishing in front of them, and it's not even just visibly annoyed, like. Especially since he's the one that normally says we know what that means. As you watch through the series, his response of we know what that means is getting more and more curt every single time. And then towards the end, it's just like, we know what that was. It's like, oh, okay. So you're fed up of saying this now, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. And it's going to build to a crescendo. Something's going to come of it. Watch.
Yes.
Because they don't do nothing by accident.
No, they do not. I think we'll finish this episode by also just mentioning the ending of the series, which is something that you don't see very often, which is a literal cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger, yeah. And this show does that all the time. It's just literal shit. You know, just like, we're not going to leave you on a cliffhanger. And then they got a damn wagon hanging off a cliff.
Yes, they did. And yeah, I love the whole in the belly of the beast in the last episode, where it's like, you'll hear 3 times in this episode the belly of the beast, and then the number comes up, not including that one. So then it goes away.
He said, not including this one either.
Yeah. And that was just so well done that they just added those extra bits in there. So I am fully on board for season 3, and I have no idea when that's coming out. And I will be eagerly awaiting that from the second I find out that it's coming out in 2 months. It's like, all right, I've got to put that in the calendar now.
Yep. Or I'll just be at work getting texts about it from Netflix after I pay my bill.
Yeah, they wait until you pay them, and then they say, oh, yeah, by the way, there's this coming. But, yeah, a little bit like your dealer, really. It's just like, you get that little taste, but now you've got to pay for some more. Yeah, I think that's as good a place to start as any.
Yep. We're going to pawn it off on our dealer so we can get on out of here.
Yes, exactly. So I think one last time then, I'll say thank you for coming back on. It's always a blast to have you. And why don't you tell people where it is they can find you again?
Once again, you can find me on Twitter at itsbrob. That's ITSBROB. If you want to talk professional wrestling or any other general shenanigans, that's the place you do it. I also host a podcast called the Random Rambles with Rob podcast, which you can also find on Twitter at 3R Show. You can go to randomrobcast.com to find my guest list and, see different ways that you can help the show grow and prosper into something bigger than itself. You can also follow me on Instagram. Just type in the Random Rambles with Rob or hashtag 3R Show or hashtag Walmart log, because I often walk the haunted halls of Walmart looking for, symbols, the VFD logo, trying to avoid a series of unfortunate events in there. Because, I don't want to be walking through there with my 6-pack of alcoholic beverages or whatever and slip on a banana peel and bash all my shit on the ground or whatever. So if you like Walmart, look up my Instagram.
All right. Even if you don't, just look it up. And he's an interesting fellow, that B-Rob.
Yeah, yes he is. Am I referring myself into the third person?
Yes. Because, why not? Life's too short. You may as well just do it from time to time. And, of course, you can find us pretty much any social media. Just search Blokebusters. We're on there. And we now have blokebusters.com, and the website looks a little different now because we have moved to a different service, and hopefully it looks a little snazzier. So,
what'd you get? You get Squarespace?
No, it's actually Weebly is what we went with.
Okay.
And I kind of enjoyed playing around in that stuff. So it looks kind of cool. If maybe down the line, if we have a little bit of spare money put in, we'll front the money for Squarespace. But right now, I think we're cool where we are.
All right. This episode has been sponsored by Squarespace.com, to where you can enter www.squarespace.com/Blokebusters podcast, and you can get 10% off your web building experience.
You can give it a go and see if it works. I can't guarantee that anything that B. Robert just said is true, but you could try it.
I don't know. Is it or isn't it?
It could figuratively be true or literally. You just don't know until you try.
Exactly.
Alright, so yes, with all that being said then, so I've been Paul.
I've been B-Rob.
And see you next time.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
Brian here with a quick lesson in theater etiquette. We don't need to hear your comments after every single trailer.